May I remind you that as a result of a request of the president of the university, we shall have a worship service, a regular worship service, next Sunday morning in the chapel at 11 o'clock. Ordinarily, on commencement day, we do not have a service at 11. The hope of the president is that the families and friends of those persons who are being graduated and who during the rest of the other part of the year do not have an opportunity to share in the university at worship will be happy to become a part of this, which is our weekly experience. One other word. Many of you have asked what is said to the babies. And I do not make the statement so that the congregation can hear it, because this, in all probability, will be very disconcerting to the ears of the baby. But what is said is this: the baby's name is called, I dedicate you to God and to the fulfillment of your life in the religious faith and tradition of your mother and your father. May it be said of you, as it was said of the baby Jesus long ago, that you increased in wisdom and in stature and in favor with God and man, so that all who come to know you in the days ahead will find in you a benediction breathing peace. God bless you and make you a blessing forever and ever. Amen. We shall now worship God with our gifts. thy presence? Whither shall I flee from thy spirit? If I ascend up into heaven, thou art there. If I make my bed in hell, behold, thou art there. If I take the wings of the morning and fly to the uttermost parts of the sea, even there shall thy hand hold me, and thy right hand shall steady me. If I say, surely the darkness shall cover me, even the night shall be light about me. The darkness hideth not from thee, but the night shineth as the day. The darkness, the light are both alike to thee. How precious also are thy thoughts unto me, O God. How great is the sum of them. If I should count them, they are more in number than the sand. When I awake, I'm still with thee. Search me, O God, and to know my heart. Try me and to know my thoughts, and to see if there be any wicked way in me, and lead me in the way everlasting. Quest for God, the final in our series that we have been discussing for several weeks on the quest of the human spirit. In all the waking hours, the tentacles of time give channel to each living thing. The bird on wing, the mole moving in darkness underground, the cricket chanting its evening song, the primeval whale sporting in chilly seas or floating noiselessly in turbulent waters. In mountain crevice or sprawling meadow, the delicate beauty of color-stained flower or fragile leaf. High above the timberline, the sprig of green dares wind and snow. In the barren parchness of desert waste, the juiceless shrub and water-logged cactus. High in the treetop, the green-pearled fruit of olive mistletoe and the soft gray stillness of creeping moss, the infant, the growing child, the stumbling adolescent, the young adult, the man full-blown or stooped with years, the tentacles of time give channel to each living thing. And beyond this, thoughts that move with grace of being, light thoughts that dance and sing untouched by gloom or shadow or the dark, weighty thoughts that press upon the road with tracks that blossom into dreams or shape themselves in plan and scheme, thoughts that whisper, thoughts that shout, thoughts that wander without rest, seeking, always seeking, thoughts that challenge, thoughts that soothe. The tentacles of time give channel to each living thing. Out from the house of God all things come, and into it each returns again for rest. When I awake, I am still with thee. It always strikes me as a kind of impudence or impertinence or arrogance to talk about God. The human spirit must have for its stability in its journey. It must have for its ground in the private and collective enterprise that we call life two fundamental levels of reassurance. And these two levels of reassurance have to do with what man senses as being ultimate in character. The first is a sense of being totally encompassed, a feeling really for a climate that is all-encompassing, that gathers up within it everything that is, so that the individual will feel himself held in a kind of reality that has as its dominant characteristic a structure of dependability which the mind interprets by the use of the term reality. Now, man's experience of this all-encompassing reality is a living, vital thing. It is so important to him that he feels that his mind has a kind of affinity for it, that all the things that are outside of him and all the things that are inside of him that he can label, like feelings or like the organs of his body, all of these things in the curious magic of his mind seem to belong together in some kind of order, some kind of structure of dependability, so that he is always confident that there isn't anything in his experience at any level that if given enough time, he will not be able to understand. And why is this? Because in his mind, he seems to have an affinity for everything that is outside of him. Now, this has far-reaching significance. For it says, you see, that there is a reality, an all-encompassing reality, which is given. He didn't create it with his own mind, but he finds it in the world about him. And as he begins to apply this sense of affinity to the external world of nature, for instance, he discovers that all kinds of rare secrets are in his hands. And when he makes use of these secrets in terms of the creation of machines or other things that are vehicular for his thought, when he uses them creatively and effectively as if they were the possession of all of life, he is blessed by it. And when he uses it in ways that are exclusive and private and selfish, he's cursed by it. So, he discovers the secret of the atom on this principle of affinity that his mind has with all that is outside of his mind and inside of his mind, this all-encompassing thing that is held together by an inner structure of dependability. And when he takes this secret and uses it on behalf of private, narrow, bigoted, frightened ends, then instead of being blessed by the creativity of God, this very thing, which is a part of the whole creative synthesis of life, becomes an instrument of evil in his hands. If he uses it to bless mankind, then he experiences the love and the benediction of God. If he uses it as something that is private and exclusive and narrow and bigoted, the instrument of his fear and anxiety, he becomes a part of the wrath of God. And so it goes. The machine, another illustration. He creates the machine growing out of this sense of affinity with all of these things external to him. And when he uses the machine as a blessing and a benediction for all of life, then he experiences what may be called the tender regard of the all-encompassing, to use a nice way to put it. And when he uses it in narrow and bigoted ways, selfish ways, in terms of the machine belongs to me for my private profit, then at once he begins to experience all kinds of manifestations of the wrath of God. Depressions, hunger, waste, devastation, angry violences. And this thing which could be an expression of the love, the tender regarding of the all-encompassing, this affinity that the mind has for all of these things, becomes now an instrument of evil. So the mind then has to feel this. It has to have a sense of being at home in the world, understanding the world, revealing itself to the world. And this, in the language of religion, says that this is possible because God is the creator not merely of life, not merely of a particular expression of life, not merely of the living substance, but God is the creator of existence itself. But the experience of God in this dimension is always ahead of the interpretation that man may give of his experience. For you see, the experience of God, even as this all-encompassing, almost impersonal aspect of reality, the experience of God is a living thing, but the thought about it, the interpretation, the thing that I've been doing for the last 10 minutes, this is an invention of the mind. And the invention of the mind is always a little less than the experience, and is always out of date as far as the experience is concerned, because the experience keeps on experiencing, while the invention has to take time to construct notion, concept, ideas, meanings, evaluate them, interpret them, and then categorize them and give them a label like theology or dogma or metaphysics or philosophy. And by the time the mind gets through with this necessitous process, the experience has moved on ahead of it, so that the experience is always attacking the invention. But the mind feels that its security rests on holding to the invention. And that's why always in the history of the church, someone rises up out of the vitality of the living experience and moves in ways that become increasingly destructive of the invention. And you get a reformation, or you get something else. Now that's the first thing. Now the second demand is that if I am to have a sense of being at home and really being secure emotionally, an impersonal, all-encompassing is not enough for me. And here my religious faith becomes my great tutor. And it is here that the Christian depends so heavily upon his interpretation of the meaning of Jesus Christ. And what does my faith teach me? In very simple words. And the second demand. Now you see the first. The first is we're surrounded by almost an external structure of dependability, so that I know that the world isn't going to run off its whatever it's on. That the sun will not rise at 8 o'clock this morning and then tomorrow decide to rise at 3 in the afternoon. That I won't plant figs and then corn will come up. The world would run me crazy if there's no. So I've got to have this. This is a part of it. But this isn't enough. I want to feel that I'm not alone, you know. I want to feel that, well, the writer of the book of Revelation expresses it. He has a lot of high-powered things to say about the new Jerusalem coming down out of the sky, and it's very dramatic and impersonal. It's a huge city descending. It's a glorious thing. But the heart dies. The heart dies with this. The heart has to feel that there's something personal. So the writer of Revelation says, God will wipe away the tears from their eyes. Nothing more personal than that. Have you ever wept and someone just got up and walked over to you and wiped the tear away? The most intimate, sacramental moment of private validation. And this is what religion insists that God does. So, my faith then teaches me three little things that are most important. That God is, that when I pray, that I meet somebody. My words do not fall back dead. And I don't try to let the invention of my mind make the case for the validity of my experience, even though I'm always trying to do it. When I pray, I have a sense of communion that is as personal and private and intimate as the wiping of the tear from the eye. And then I know what Jesus says is right. And it teaches me also that God is not merely is. This is not enough, but that He's close at hand. He's a part of the very stuff of my experience. He is in my tragedy. He's in my joy. He is in my moments of high glory and in my moments of profoundest despair. That when the night is so dark that I cannot see my hand before me, He is there. When the light is so bright that all things are blotted out, He is there. When I hate, when I love, when I sin, when I seek forgiveness, I can't shake Him. He's there. Speak to Him, thou, for He heareth. And spirit with spirit may meet. Closer is He than breathing, nearer than hands and feet. This is the second thing. And the third is that He's love, that when I love, however weak it may be, however faltering and inadequate and broken it may be, when I love, in some mysterious way, all the world seems to fall into some kind of sense. And when I hate, the sun doesn't seem to be as bright, my feet drag, the world is not quite right. And when I love, it seems as if I'm right in the center of all the meaning there is. So that whatever else God is, this must be what he is most. Even when with my stupidity and hard-heartedness, I become an instrument of his wrath. Even in his pain, he holds and redeems. And therefore, for love's sake, then, I will do what no power in heaven or hell or on the earth could make me do if I didn't love. So God, as experience must be like this, I would not snare thee in a web of words. I would not try to reduce all the vast reaches of thy meaning in paltry symbols. I would but open myself to thee and let thy spirit invade me and fill me until I do not know what is mine or thine. This would be my fulfillment. Oh, my God.